Hey,
Oh,
everybody. I just want to say hello to everyone over here in Balance Corporate Moms. Let me turn this down so I don't get any backlash. Okay. We are streaming live today with Zach and Ann, like I promised. Zach and Ann came
hi.
through. Say hello. Yeah. They came through one of our coaching programs about a month ago, and they have an amazing story that I wanted to share for everyone who is in corporate America, is thinking that maybe your career right now is taking up an awful lot of family time, and there's something else out there. I think they have certainly created something else in a really big way. So yeah, and if you guys have questions or if anyone's watching this, just leave a comment and I'll be able to see it, and we'll pass that along. Cool. So say hi, guys.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello.
So tell us, maybe you can just tell everybody as we get started, like tell us what you're getting ready to go do, and yeah, what motivated you to want something, different. Kind of tell us where you're at, because you guys had sort of a traditional, the traditional corporate life, and now you're getting ready to do something all different. So tell us what's going on.
You want to start or?
So for a while, we've been living kind of a typical life where I've actually been staying at home for a while, although I used to be in the corporate world before I decided to do that. And Zach has been working. So, and while it's been a great job and it's provided well for us financially, we were wanting more time as a family, more time to travel, and just having these yearnings for, things that were a little less conventional in terms of things to experience and ways to grow as a family together. So that's, around that time is when we came across your coaching program, and we thought, we don't really know what we're doing. We didn't really know anyone else that was living kind of in this way outside the box. And we thought it would be good just to get some guidance and, kind of get on the right path to making different choices. Because when you're in the corporate world, everyone is in the corporate world. So everyone you talk to is going to kind of support that lifestyle. And if you mention anything about leaving it, the fear will creep in because they have that. That's what has kept them there as well. So really, our desire was to really get a different mindset to allow us to live a more expansive life, to give us these other experiences that we desired. So we've jumped in, and we're still in our journey now,
Yeah.
but we have made a lot of changes, and we're very excited about what's to come.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. All right. And so there's like this delay. Okay. So, well, I love that introduction, Ann. And one of the things, I'd like everyone to understand is, so you were in the corporate world at one point. You guys were both working. Your girls, girls were in school or whatever. And then one of the things you said to me when we were doing the coaching program is that, you said you felt like you and Zach were two ships passing in the night. So what was that like? I mean, what was Zach's hours, and how much time were you guys able to spend together as a family?
Fortunately, the job I have it's not so demanding, or hasn't been in the past so demanding of 15-hour days in the office or anything like that. I mean, it was pretty standard working hours, but we live probably 45 minutes away from the office that I work at. So you add in hour to an hour and a half of commuting every day on top of 9 hours there. And, now it's 10 and a half, 11 hours away from home every day. And then you add on top of that all of the preparation for the next day. And, it leaves very little time for actual connection with, between us and with our kids. And then there were times, several times a year I have to travel, and not usually a week-long type of a thing. And then that's really difficult on, kind of everything that falls on the end, where sometimes, at least when I get home, I can at least do the dishes or something like that. It's like, so, I mean, we've kind of lived through these experiences and decided it wasn't really serving our core needs. And that was part of what I think you helped us uncover, was what are those core values that you want to live by, and what are those top 1, 2, 3 non-negotiable things in your life that you want to make sure that you put up above everything else. And for us, one of those things was family, the connection with each other. And when you then weigh that against, if you made that decision, this is a non-negotiable, and then you weigh that against the things that you are negotiating in your life, it becomes a little bit easier decision. It's still not hard, it's not easy, but it's still a difficult decision to execute on. But it's a little bit easier to make from a place of you feel comfortable and confident in space of, I'm doing this to live the purpose-filled life I want to live.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I felt like, especially, I was actually working a full-time job last year as well, and it was like most of our time was literally spent either working or preparing to be gone working. Like I would be making my meals in the evening, trying to make sure I'm bringing healthy lunches, and I didn't feel like we were getting the quality time with each other or with our kids. And I was really thinking about, this is really not the lifestyle that we want. Like Zach said, it really was not in line with our values as far as living a life of like meaning with our kids and, just showing them experiences, expanding their minds about the world. Like I didn't feel like we even had any time or space to even think about what we wanted in life. We were living more of a reactive life where it was like, well, coming from like life is a struggle. You always, nothing really works out and you have to try. And then wanting to shift into like, what do we want out of life? Well, what are our values? And how do we want to live on a daily basis that supports those values? And so that's another thing that, we got out of the coaching that we didn't realize we needed, but we needed to sit down and say what really is important to us in this shift.
Oh, and I love that you said that, because I think that's where we all get caught up, right? We're all just doing what we think we're supposed to be doing, right? Like we're supposed to grow up and go to college, get a job and work and get married and all that's wonderful. But sometimes you stop for a minute and you look around and go, am I enjoying this? Or am I getting out of life what I thought I was going to get out of it? Am I, like you said, am I able to provide the experiences I want for my kids? Like, you guys know Scott and I travel quite a bit with our kids, and that really means a lot to us. But, whether we were traveling or not, it's just the fact that we're able to spend the majority of our day with our children instead of the flip side, where it's all work and then life just kind of gets shoved into those couple hours that you get every night. And like you guys so accurately said, that's all making lunches for the next day and pressing your clothes and bath time and homework. And then it's like, wow, I didn't really spend any time with anyone tonight.
Yeah. And it's not only a life of stress for yourself, but also I felt like for the kids, because, you're kind of setting the tone for the family. And if the tone is stress, they're feeling it too. And I didn't feel like that was the healthiest home environment for us to be living. And so, even before we actually made any changes, I started having these inklings, like there must be another way to live. Like there must be another way that's better for everybody. And that's when we started really thinking about making these big changes. So.
Well, I think that's great. And I think that is where it begins. It begins with you in that inkling, like there's got to be something different. And I don't know if you experienced that, but you flip-flop back. You like, there's got to be something different. No, we're good. This is good. This is the way it's supposed to be. And then you start going, I think there's something different. And then, it's hard. And I think, like you said, you get so caught up in what, your family, your friends, the people you work with are saying. They're all saying life is great, right? And you're going, I don't really know if this is what I want. And that's where, coming up with your core values, not what the rest of the world wants for us, but what.
Oh. We lost you again. Sorry.
Okay, let's see. What if I just use
webcam?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Forget the fancy microphone. I'll just use my webcam. But as you say, when we start with those core values and we really plan out, what you want and those non-negotiables, then, like you said, Zach, it's not easy, but you have a marker from which you can make decisions with and say, if I make this decision, is it really going to be aligned with my values? So I love that you said that. Thank you. All right, cool. So what are you going to go do now? Tell everybody what you're doing now, because this is exciting.
So we've talked a lot about travel, and over the past year, we're not. I think one thing to kind of maybe take a step back before we answer that is this is a process we've gone through, and we've been talking about this and doing this for a while. There's been a lot of planning to some degree. I think we've also I came into this coaching myself wanting a very specific plan, which was, okay, how am I going to transition from my job into some other kind of income source on day one? Like when I pull the plug from here, I want to plug it in over here, and I get, I'm transitioning my income. And I think, we have a plan that now isn't based on all the specifics of the how it's going to get done, but kind of the what we want to move toward, and then kind of just submitting in a way to what happens along that journey, knowing that it's in alignment with our core values. And we've done enough of the practical planning around the finances and things to make sure that we're okay for a period of time, but we don't have to stress about that on day one, but to just be open to what might come down the road. And so what we decided to do, we had talked about, not quite a year ago, we went to kind of the first time we took our kids on a big flight trip was out to the Grand Canyon. So we live on the East Coast. So to the Grand Canyon and did that, that whole experience, which was fun. This past January, we took them to Costa Rica for a week, which was great. And then we went to Mexico just a month ago. We were thinking maybe that, but one thing we've been talking about for, I don't know, maybe 8 years or so was we've always been drawn to getting an RV and a camper and going to see more of the national parks and going to spend time in nature and giving our kids some freedom to, to see new places and meet new people. So just literally Friday, so 2 days ago, we went out, bought the RV, and just yesterday we bought the truck. So it's very fresh. Like the RV's not in the driveway yet. They still have to wait for it to get here and do all that. So in the next couple of weeks, we should have that. And then in about a month, I think, roughly, we're going to start doing some travel with that.
Awesome. Oh my gosh. Okay. So Zach, I don't know if we said at the beginning of the interview, but you have given notice. So you are
actually, so no, not kind of. So I'm actually going to take a leave of absence from my job. So, and this is kind of what, kind of talking about like what doors can open. I'm talking with my boss, and we talked and have a very honest relationship. And I kind of came to him with, hey, these are the things that are, I didn't use the term like kind of core values or my non-negotiables, but I kind of expressed these things to him like, look, my goals now are to do these things: spend time with my family, maximize my time with kids, be able to work from different locations, not be tied to driving to this office every day and that struggle. And he was receptive and said, look, we value you here. And I did have some leverage, like, I'm willing to kind of get this up, right? And he's like, well, there's nothing in stone yet, nothing but that's predetermined, but there's a possibility that I could work part-time starting in, say, August, right, when our new fiscal year starts. So in the meantime, I'm going to do a leave of absence and see how that plays out in the next few months. But yeah, the plan is for, in mid-June for me to start that leave and then for us to, start traveling.
Oh, I love that. Okay. And that's a perfect example of how, I think we get scared that our careers are damaged if we're, we can't step back. We always have to have our foot on the gas pedal, right? And you don't, right? You had an honest conversation with your boss. You've obviously demonstrated value. So your value isn't in how many hours you're working. It's in what you do for your company and the problems you solve. And they and I think we're also scared to have that conversation. So I love that it's gone that way for you, because now you have options. You may end up doing something with your company still. You may not, or, you may end up coming back at some point and, down the road in some different capacity. Yeah. So I think what's really cool, and I think, hopefully you guys saw this in the coaching program too, is it's like that little switch has to go off in your head where one minute you're clinging to like that security and it's scary, right? It's like, how am I going to provide for my children? What's going to happen to my house? And those are very practical things we have to figure out. Yeah. And when you realize that you are capable of creating any life you want, and that your career doesn't have to be this, constant trudge up a hill, it can actually be something that's more fluid. It's like, wow, like, look at how much fun we're going to have. So that's awesome.
Yeah. And I think too, one of the most beneficial parts of the coaching for me was to look at those scripts that we have. We're always talking to ourselves in some kind of way, and you're either kind of stuck in your thoughts of like, this is the only way, I'm stuck in my little box, or you're telling yourself, that anything is possible and that you can make the life that you want. So really identifying what's holding you back from that, because one part of you might say, oh, well, I think this is possible, but then you'll have these other thoughts that will hold you back and say, oh, well, that's for other people, that's not for you. Or you'll have, experiences in your life that will tell you that you're not good enough for that, or you don't deserve that. And so I think that's where the heart of the change happens, is your thinking. You have to get your thinking in the right place in order to make the out picture in your life be the way that you want it to be. And if you can't get that in order first, then the other's not going to work out. So I think for me that's been the biggest piece, and it is definitely a journey. So it's not something where, overnight you wake up and all of your scripts are gone and you just think positive all the time. But I think, continuing to work at it and realizing that is where the work is key. And you guys were great at guiding us into, looking at that, really getting on the right path.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you. And I'm glad you said that, because you're right. It's a lot of times we don't even realize the scripts are there, right? Mm-hmm. And no one comes into a coaching program saying, can you help me with my scripts? It's always, Can you help me figure out what job I should have? Can you help me figure, this more tangible thing? But we end up having to work on that mindset piece because ultimately that's what it is, right?
Yeah.
That's the piece. And then once that gets figured out, it's like, oh, okay, here, this is all I have, and not all I have to do, but now the steps are more clear to me, and I'm able to deal with the anxiety and the panic and all these things that were holding me back. And now I don't feel that anymore. Or like you're saying, I at least recognize it. So now I know that I can work on it. Right. I love that. I love that. Okay. So you guys are taking off in the RV. Where are you going first?
We haven't decided yet.
I kind of threw
There's
together
a lot of good places to go. But.
Yeah, I kind of threw together one agenda, but I don't know. We're still waiting.
We might be headed to the Rockies. That's a place that both of us have wanted to go for a while.
Yeah.
So we might be headed there. We've also talked about maybe even going up to New England because neither of us have ever been to New England, seeing some different things because the weather's starting to get so nice. And so, making use of the warm weather and going to places where it's nice now. But I think, we're trying to stay open in how it's going to play out. And that's another thing I want to mention is like, going into the coaching, like Zach said, he kind of thought he was going to get, these certain things that he was looking for. And it turned out that he actually needed to work on some other stuff that he didn't realize he needed to work on. But he was able, and myself, to stay open to what are the changes that need to happen to put me on this path. And so we're kind of doing the same thing with where we're going to go. We're like, these are places that look good. And, when the time is right, it's going to be clear of where we need to go. So just staying open. It's not to say you never make any plans, but, you kind of let life unfold in a more natural way than kind of like ram your way through it the way you feel like you should. So, that's been helpful too.
I love that. Okay. And we're going to be able to follow along because you guys are going to do a travel blog, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So we started that. It's a very bare bones website right now, but I think you'll post a link somewhere else. So we part of this is I got some not too expensive, but a couple cameras and we're gonna video some of this, and we really don't know what we're doing with that either. So it should be a learning experience for us and interesting for everyone involved. But we're mainly, if nothing else, I'm looking to document it for us. So something that we have, our kids can see, our family, some friends, but anyone that there's a email list that I don't even know what we're going to send out yet on that, but maybe updates here and there. We'll put some stuff on YouTube, and people that want to join and watch will be happy to share and maybe answer questions too. So.
Yeah, and I think it's helpful to anyone who wants to be inspired by living a different way to watch people living a different way. And that was I've watched YouTube videos of people traveling for years, and that's always been an inspiration to me. And so even if you don't actually know people who are doing it, you can follow along at least and see other people living this way, and it helps you think, well, it's possible for me to live in a different way too. So
and I think that's a key. That's a really good point because one of the things that I think really helped us that was parallel to the coaching, some before and even beyond after, was continuing to find people that inspire us, that are living lives that are intentional in their design, and they're not just getting sucked into the flow of what everyone else around them is doing. But it takes effort to find, to know, that's part of what the coaching, a big part of what that really helped was knowing what it is that's important to you, and then finding people that are doing those things and looking to them for some inspiration, and surrounding yourself, if you can't physically surround yourself. And then we're very fortunate to have the ability to virtually, we did this whole thing virtually, the coaching, and I was telling Ann, I'm like, this is great because we're able to connect with someone who we don't know anyone that's done this, that has kind of taken these same steps and done these same things, but we're able to have these conversations every week and do work in between and communicate through email and video chat so that we can learn from you and Scott, the way that you guys have made this transition. And then at the same time, parallel to that, I have this commute. I downloaded a lot of podcasts that were really in line with either the principles or the mindset piece or the business piece that, we're looking to move into. And Ann was talking about, the YouTube videos, and there's a lot of reading we've done in books. And I think that's integral to this process, is that intentionally, there's that saying that a lot of inspiration people say about, you're the kind of the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time around. And If you can't physically spend time around those people, find ways to spend time around them through some other means, through listening to them, watching them, reading them. That I think there's a lot of value in shifting your mindset away, because otherwise you're really, if you feel stuck and you're physically stuck in a job. My job is one that requires me to be in the office 5 days a week. So when I'm there, and I love my coworkers. There's a lot of great people that I'm friends with, but they're doing the same thing. So it's like I don't have anywhere to go beyond just what's happening around me, other than finding other avenues like through coaching or through listening to a podcast or something to get that kind of inspiration.
Well, and you guys are so awesome as far as, your success that you're going to see, because first of all, you're determined, right? I mean, you guys came into the coaching program going, this is what we want. And you were very clear that you wanted something different, and you had some really good ideas of what those were, but you're also resourceful. And so that's why, you're looking for the podcast. You guys were reading books, you were reaching out and looking for the information and the inspiration. I love that you needed. And then you're just open, right? You were just very open. Throughout the whole program, if we suggested something or said, try something, you guys were like, okay, let's try this. And I think you really have to be, because we're talking about changing from, those scripts and those pathways that are sort of there for us since childhood, into really creating your own path in life. And if you don't have those three things, if you're not determined to find a solution, if you're not going to be resourceful, because you don't always come up with the right answer the first time around, and if you're not open to trying new things, then, it makes it really, really tough. So I think that's one of the things that you guys inspire, is that you understand that, and you're so willing to just try different things. And I think this trip you're getting ready to take with your girls, which, by the way, they must be ecstatic. Are they excited?
Yeah, I think so. I think they're starting to at first they were kind of like, oh, we don't want a big truck, and then, they have their opinions, and then they got in it and they're like, oh, this one has a DVD player. This is cool. Nice. So I think they went with us to look at. So we tried to include them in the whole process. They've been with us to look at the RVs and several times, and so that, I think so. I think by including them in it, they're more bought in and they're more excited about it.
Oh, I love it. That would be my voice too. Oh, this one has an iPod. This one has PS3. Great. We'll take this one.
Yeah, right.
Oh my gosh. Well, the minute you guys hit the road, though, they're going to be so ecstatic, and what a cool adventure. So I am going to be following your blog, and I will definitely post the link so everybody else here can as well. Any last minute advice for people who are, experiencing, let's just say the traditional corporate lifestyle, which again is great for a while, but sometimes, especially when we have families, we'd like it to be different. Any advice you have for them, or anything that, you can suggest or inspire them before we break off?
Yeah. I feel like if people do have that inkling coming to them of things could be different, I think it's just really believing in yourself that it's possible for you to have everything that you desire, to really believing that you would not have that desire if it wasn't possible for you. And so I think believing in yourself that it's possible, and also being really open. And I heard this term that resonated with me, being inwardly humble. So it's okay to be a confident person on the outside, but to be humble on the inside. So if someone's talking to you, a lot of times we'll say, I already know what they're going to say. So you kind of close yourself off. Yeah. Just really being inwardly humble to learn, to change your thinking, because that, I feel like that's been the key for us, is just really being open and kind of taking on that inward humility to learn from others, because that's where the change happens. So
yeah, and I'd say don't, in the same line of thinking, is don't be afraid to ask for help, because that's something I struggle with. Have kind of most of my life is, well, I have to be able to do this alone, or I'm not going to be successful. I have to be able to do this through my own merit, or it doesn't count as much. It's not worth as much, and that's not true. And there's actually kind of it's almost more rewarding to do things with other people. It definitely is, and to learn from other people. I think it's a relationship that through the coaching, we got a lot out of it, and I think from talking with you and Scott, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I think you did talking with us, and got some reward out of that. So it helps everyone around to not just stay kind of holed up inside of yourself and try to figure it all out on your own, but to work with other people around you. And also I'd say, like Ann said about be open, going through the script piece, one of the the values or areas of need that people have that we learn from you guys is safety. And that's something that I think everyone has to some degree is, how am I going to pay my mortgage? How am I going to, pay for my car? And that's a need that I think, I wanted to admit I was kind of beyond in a way. Like, of course I think about those things, but it's like they actually dominated a lot of my thinking. And so something I needed to work on was kind of being humble about recognizing that, but also know that those are areas I think everyone struggles with, and that by staying open to the process, those things tend to work themselves out sometimes. I talked to my dad just the other day, and he was saying 99% of the worry and the fear and the doubt that he has about how things are going to work out, they never pan out. Those things never materialize in the way these kind of insane circumstances you come up in your head. Well, if I do this, then this person's going to say that, or I'm going to, end up, my car's going to break down inside, or all these things you come up with in your head, they don't materialize most of the time. And so if you just kind of trust in yourself and have belief in yourself that you can do these things, and put the worry aside for a bit, just kind of check it at the door, doors will open in different ways. And some have in so many different ways already, just, in the last few months for us, that I would have never imagined that, just by saying, this is what we want. These are the areas that we want to focus on. And these are, we're not going to, force it to happen in a certain way, but we want to move in this direction. We're going to set an intentional tone for our life to move in this direction and see what unfolds.
That is so beautiful. Oh my gosh, I love you guys. But that's perfect. Well, no, because so much, it's just, it completely encapsulates what I think, where I was stuck for so long is, and to your point, I wasn't being humble on the inside because I felt like I had to prove my worth in my company every day. And I wore my corporate position like a badge, right? I'm sorry to say that was my ego. And like you're saying, Zach, I never wanted to reach out. I had to be the person with all the answers because, in the corporate world, that's what we're paid for. You need to bring solutions to the boss and stuff. So it really does shift what life can be like when you start to engage in a totally different way. When you bring in that humility, when you say, I don't have all the answers and I want to reach out to you, and the mutually beneficial relationship, like you said, we were coaching, but we're learning from you just as you're learning from us. And the connection is really precious. And now, now look how different life is, for all of us. So in a really positive way. So beautiful, what a beautiful way to sum this up. Well, awesome. Well, we've been on for a while. Will you guys come back and give us some updates at some point?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, cool. I can't wait. And I appreciate you so much for being here. I know a lot of people are going to get value out of this and be inspired by you and in your journey. So thank you so much. Let me just double check to see if we have any questions. Not at the moment. So we'll just come back and check. And if anyone posts questions, we'll be able to answer those down the road.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Good afternoon.
Bye.
Bye.